it's Brennan. Welcome to my channel and welcome to another video. Today we are going to rank and wrap up all the books that I read in October. My apologies because it's already almost halfway through November. I am just now taking the time to wrap up these books, but I read 9 books in October. Pretty good and not as strong as I have been doing recently, but I read some great books in October. Let's talk a little bit about my reading stats. I read 9 books, which was 3,262 pages. Lots of romance, per usual, little historical, but that was also romance. Some thriller, some mystery, some fantasy. And for my ratings for October, I gave 3 3-stars, 1 4-star, and 5 5-stars. So these are going to be a little bit difficult to rank because I really liked a lot of them. So let's go ahead and jump into this, and we will start by just me broadly going over this historical romance trilogy that I read. It's by Julia London. It is her Desperate Debutantes series. The first book was The Hazards of Hunting a Duke. This centers around 3 sisters, but one of them is actually their cousin, but their mom dies and their stepfather just wants to marry them off. They've kind of been dragging their feet a little bit in this time period. They're kind of getting into the spinster age, but they just haven't really wanted to settle. They have a good life at home and they just haven't felt pressured to find a husband, and now that pressure is being put on them. So Ava, our first sister, takes it upon herself. She says, I'm going to capture me a duke so I can make sure that my sisters don't have to go through this also. So she is just bent on finding a wealthy man, and she has her sights on one. Ava and her sisters have standing in the ton, or whatever it's called. They aren't the same level as like a duke. Like would not be the top pick for a duke, but she meets this duke. He also does not want to get married, but his father is putting pressure on him because the dukedom needs an heir, whatever. And he also kind of wants to displease his father a little bit. So he and Ava basically have a marriage of convenience. So that happens reasonably quickly in the series. And then the rest of it is Jared has had this mistress, this divorcee woman. And so Ava has some misgivings about that. So the book is basically them kind of falling in love with each other, but also like settling some things. Anyway, I gave it 3 stars. It was probably my least favorite in the series. Ava was a little annoying, but it was so entertaining. When I listened to these, they were with the Audible Plus catalog. I don't think they are anymore. But yeah, super quick, easy read. I was entertained. The second book in that series was The Perils of Pursuing a Prince. We follow their cousin Gria. She has gone off to Scotland to try to find her inheritance. Like, her father had died, but no one could claim his inheritance, so she's trying to claim his inheritance. Anyway, that inheritance is in the control of this, I guess he's a prince. He's an older guy, like he's probably 40, and Gria's probably in her early 20s. Or mid-20s. Maybe it's like 24 to 38. Anyway, there's a little bit of an age gap. He's had a wife who has passed away in childbirth, per usual in this era. Sorry, that got kind of dark. Anyway, this is their love story. So he is thinking that she is like this fake person just claiming that she has a right to this inheritance. So he's feeling a little iffy about her, and she shows up with a guy who he absolutely does not trust. So there's just some back and forth there, and she's kind of a reluctant guest / prisoner in his estate, but it's a lot of fun. This one might have been my favorite out of the 3, but we're just going in order for now. And the last book in that series was The Dangers of Deceiving a Viscount, and this was Phoebe's book. She's the younger sister, and she has been contributing to their family by low-key being a seamstress. It can't be public knowledge that she knows a trade because that would hurt the standing of their family. So she has secretly been being a seamstress, and all the women in the ton love her designs. So she has gotten some success, but she has to masquerade as this French widow seamstress. She's working under this like older woman and like funneling her designs through her. Anyway, our Viscount is like, hey, my sisters need some dresses and I want to hire your finest seamstress. Please send her to live with me. And this lady cannot pass up a good deal. So she's like, sorry, Phoebe, but I'll expose you if you don't go live with this wealthy man and his family and clothe his sisters. And he has been like exploring, and he's just now come back to find that his father has had a stroke and his family is in disrepair. Can a family be in disrepair? His family is. So Phoebe is there under a fake identity, and that's where their issues come from. But they develop like an affair, I guess you would call it. So they've got a little affair going on while she's there, but then obviously he's gonna find out who she is, and then they settle their differences and end up together. There you go. There's your not so quick wrap up on that series. I gave them all 3 stars. They were all fun. They were all entertaining. I listened to them really fast, but I just needed like ear entertainment early in October. I was doing a lot of work and I just needed something that I could listen to and not be fully invested in. Okay, now we have my 6th favorite book of October, and it's been my only 4-star book in October, which is good. I'm sorry, it's in the 6th place position on this, and that was The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. I had a great time reading this book, but I will link below my Spooktober reading vlog, which will be up by the time you're seeing this. If you want more prolonged details about this book, you can check that out. But this is a second chance romance, and we have witches in here. Both the guy and the girl are witches. They had a summer fling when they were 19, and the guy was betrothed. And when he told our girl, what's our girl's name? Vivian? And when Vivian found this out, she was so mad, and it ended there. So that was when they were 19. Reese is our guy, and he's like, I don't want to say royalty, so this is like very modern. It's witchy, but very modern. It's set in Georgia at a college in modern times. And Reese has to be like the diplomat of his family, the ambassador for his family, to come back to this college campus where their family has a lot of like heritage. And he has to come back and charge the ley lines, which is a magical thing. That's the like real reason he's there. And there's like this fall festival type thing where he needs to make an appearance. Well, it turns out Vivian kind of cursed him when they broke up when they were 19. Now it's 10 years later, and the curse just took effect when he came back to this area. So there is just like mayhem going on in this town, magical mayhem. It's a really fun time, very good for Halloween, which I know has passed, but also it's just kind of like light-hearted dark academia. There was a haunted house in here and a ghost that was a little bit like actually kind of spooky. And my only complaint about this was that it was a second chance romance, so they had a history, and I felt like they got back together a little bit too soon, and then they were like very wrapped up in each other and just ignoring what was happening in this town. I had a great time, 4 stars for what it was, a quick, easy, light-hearted yet spooky read. And then the rest of these books are 5 stars. Like, I just can't help it. I loved them all. I guess I will say my least favorite 5-star book was They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. Obviously, 5 stars still. Amazing book. This is a thriller. It's a little bit romantic, but we follow a female serial killer. She is a literature professor at a college, and she likes to kill people. Like, bottom line, she enjoys killing people, but she tries to be a little bit good, but it's still very gray. A little good about it by choosing men from their campus who basically have sexually assaulted or generally creeped out women on the campus. And this is told from 2 perspectives. So we have a younger perspective and then we have her perspective. I really enjoyed that. I don't want to say much about it because it's kind of like an exciting part of the book. I don't know how much to say there. That's really all I have to say about this book. It was a fun, adventurous time, very dark academia. There is murder, obviously, and I just loved our perspectives. I thought they were so much fun. So give it a read if you are interested in any of those things. In my number 4 spot is Finlay Donovan is Killing It. The author, I always have to look it up, El Cazimano. Obviously you can see it on the book on the screen. This is another, I guess you would call it romantic suspense. It's thrillery. Finlay is an author. She writes romantic suspense, and she's talking with her agent in a Panera Bread one morning, and a woman sitting at another table overhears them and thinks that Finlay is a hit woman. So she slips Finlay a note and is like, I'll give you lots of money if you murder my husband. And Finlay is in a position where her ends are not meeting. She is not progressing in her book. She doesn't have a lot going for her. Her husband left her and is trying to get custody of their kids, and she's considering it. And then it just snowballs from there. The escalation of this book is so much fun. I loved it. I had a great time. There's a little bit of romance, like maybe even a triangle. It was a great time, and Finley kind of gets in cahoots with her babysitter, which I loved the dynamic of. This was just great and super fast paced, and it just was consistently great. Like, I was never bored. I was always having a good time. I was super interested in where the story was going, and I can't wait to read the second book. I think it comes out early next year. Super excited for that. Definitely a highly anticipated new release. Okay, these top 3 are where I really had some trouble ranking. But my number 3 spot is going to be Credence by Penelope Douglas. This book. So this is definitely probably her most taboo, most far-reaching book. So here's the plot. We have a girl, she's 17, her parents die, and then her step-uncle ends up having custody of her. She's never met him before, and he has 2 sons, so her step-cousins, and she decides to go live with them. He definitely makes it clear. He's like, hey, you're almost 18 and I know you have a life, like you can do whatever you want, but the offer stands. You can come live on this mountaintop in Colorado with me and my sons if you want to. And Tiernan, our female main character, she's had a lot go on in her life. So what I mean when I say that is that she's pretty broken. Her parents never paid a lot of attention to her. They were really famous people in the like Hollywood movie world, and they just never were very invested in her. They were only invested in each other. So she basically has a lot of childhood neglect, and it has hurt her, and it has affected who she is as a young adult woman. So she's like, I don't really want to go back to my boarding school. I'll try this new experience in Colorado with my family. And then it's a little bit reverse harem for a while, but she does end up with one person in particular, and I loved this book. I'm sorry, please don't report me to anyone, but I had a really good time reading this book. It was the heaviest smut I've ever read. Sorry, that's what I have to say about it. It was great. The atmosphere, impeccable, very snowy. They get snowed in, very isolated, 5 stars. Okay, second best book I read in October was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is just incredible. This series, A Court of Thorns and Roses, so good, just like everyone here says. This is the continuation of the second book. They're solving some problems. Feyre is dealing a lot with some emotional aftermath after the ending of the first book, which was quite dramatic. She had to go through a lot. She's a new person now, and you know, she's finding herself. I'll say that for this book. I'll also say Tamlin is lame. I'll also say Nesta is intriguing, and at first I hated her. I'll just say it. Hated her in the first book. After the end of this book, super interested in her book, which is not the next book, but the book after that. Anyway, a great series if you like fantasy, if you like romance. If that sounds cool to you, so sorry. I don't know how to review books that are just like so popular that most people know what they're about, but yeah, this is great. 5 stars. My favorite book that I read in October was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I heard this is a debut novel, so amazing. I loved this so much. This is fake dating, which typically isn't my most favorite trope, but I loved it. We're following Olive, who is a PhD student at Stanford, and all of this starts because she's wanting to make her best friend comfortable to date a guy that Olive has broken up with, who she has no interest in. So she is just trying to convince her friend that she's over him, and she grabs the closest guy to her one night and kisses him, and it turns out to be Dr. Carlson, and he is notorious for being a very tough, I guess, professor, but also just like mentor to his students. He's not her mentor, but people don't like him on this campus. Even though he's brilliant, he does great work, he doesn't get along with his students. So he's kind of like this dark, I don't know if I want to say broody. He's just very serious about his work. They start fake dating. They have reasons where it benefits both of them if they are dating someone, and they, you know, they're just falling for each other. Maybe he has had feelings for her for longer than she knows, and it's just so good. It's so fun. I think it's chapter 16. That's a pretty good ways into this book. One thing is that this book has really long chapters, which sometimes is hard for me. But if you know anything about me, you know it's really hard for me to read physical books. I read this book physically. It is that good. But chapter 16, when you finally get to their steam, oh my gosh, it is amazing. Like truly the epitome of contemporary romance steam. It's amazing. The relationship's amazing. At the end of this, Adam, Dr. Carlson, he gets very touch her and I'll kill you. And I love that. This was amazing. 5 stars, easy, would recommend if you like romance. Also, this is another book that, you know, you've just seen the cover, you've heard people talk about. It's great. I loved it. Let me know if you've read it and what you thought about it. And don't give me a wrong answer. Anyway, if you made it this far in my video, give me a blue heart emoji down below. Lots of my books this month were blue, so that's why I went with blue. Anyway, let me know if you've read any of these books. I would love to know. Let me know what you thought about them. And let me know what your favorite book in October was. I know I'm asking a lot from you, but, you know, just bear with me. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one.